Hey now, happy Tuesday evening, everybody. It's time for another edition of the Overtime Sports Show. My name is Greg Gross. Co-host on the other side is Dan O'Brien. What's up, Dan? How's it going?
Oh, man, doing awesome. Again, number 32. Got a great show. We got the Preakness, second leg of the Triple Crown. We got NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, NFL schedule review tomorrow, MLB, and just hat reveal as usual.
Yep. We're proud to be sponsored by Drop Hat. I think 3-4 weeks now that they've been
second shipment.
us.
Second shipment of 4 hats just came in this weekend, so we are highly grateful again. You know, we love them. They are doing a tremendous job. I know you can agree. They've been nailing it on every single hat.
Yeah.
So we got
another shipment. There's another good one. I get a chance to guess, right? You want to give me a hint?
Yeah, it's a relevant sport that's going on right now, and it's a relevant team that's going on right now.
Okay. All right. So hockey?
Yes.
Okay.
Remember what I told you before we got on?
Yeah. So now it can't be the Rangers because I won't like it and you won't like it.
I mean, I won't either. I would.
Okay.
I mean, I would wear it, enjoy because they're our sponsor, but without getting away, that is not them. No.
Okay. I'm wondering if it's original 16.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. There's only one left. That would be Boston. I was just thinking.
Yeah. So no, it's not. And we already remember when we started, we said no Boston team. So.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And they've been abiding by that, which is great. So
yes.
Good kudos to Drop Hat. All right. So it's not Boston. It's not the Rangers. Is it a throwback to the Avs? Is it a Nordiques hat? No? Okay.
No. Just think about what I told you before we went on air. I said they've been watching us and they nail it every single time. And yeah.
You said it's relevant. It's a hockey team that's playing in the playoffs now, huh?
Yeah. They were one of 16 teams.
Okay. Is it a Dolan hat? Is it the Panthers?
No, sir.
All right, you got to just show me.
I hope you have a great. I hope you have a really good expression because this is really cool.
I hope so.
Hold on.
Okay. Nice. Nice.
Remember what I said? I told you that they've been watching us. Edmonton Oilers. I mean,
I was thinking that as you were exchanging your headset there. That's nice. That's nicely done. I like it a lot. Simple too. Yeah. Very, very simple. And you're right. They get the show. They get it.
I mean, what was it? 4 weeks ago, they hit it on Jackie Robinson Day. They gave us my Brooklyn Dodgers hat. And, you know, I've been mentioning the Edmonton Oilers ever since I saw them around Thanksgiving time. And I've been on them all playoffs. Actually, I have them in the Stanley Cup in our bracket. And I actually have them winning the Stanley Cup in another bracket that we're doing. I have Florida winning in the show bracket. But, another badass hat. And it's the 47 brand that we mentioned before. Mm-hmm. So it's another comfortable hat, similar to the Brooklyn Dodgers. So very easy. And if you look real close, you can see DOB under here in the logo, like I always see. So, yeah. So go Oilers go. And they actually play tonight. A very pivotal game. They're down 2-1. And
it is a pivotal game. It is. Yeah. That's a good segue. We could have taken the show in a lot of different directions, but hockey hat, and I guess I'll start with hockey. But yeah, good job, Drop Hat. Oilers do have a pretty important game tonight. They're at home, so chance to tie it up 2-2 or go down 3-1. We were talking about it just before the show. I feel like, and it's probably reality, right? I mean, the Oilers just seem to find a way to choke year after year. Yep. I mean, McDavid's been in the league now, 7 years, 8, more than that, 9? I don't know. It's been a long time. He's been the face of the league for a long time. It's a ton of pieces around him. Draisaitl, I think Hyman was second in the league in goals this year, if I'm not mistaken. But Darnell Nurse, don't they still have Nugent Hopkins? I mean, just on and on and on. I still think they have Adam Larson on D. I mean, you can just it's a cast of characters, but one way or another, they find a way to just not get it done. And nothing, Vancouver, you can't take anything away from them, but I mean, they're not. In my opinion, they're not Dallas. They're not the Rangers. They're not the Panthers. So it's like they had a path right now, and it's not over, obviously, but they need to win tonight or it's not looking good because they'll go back to Vancouver. and we could be looking at a quick exit. So I don't know if you've been watching the series. I've tuned in a bit, but it just seems like they find a way to just come up short, almost like the Leafs. I don't know if that's the best comparison, but a very loaded roster, another Canadian team. I mean, I feel part of me feels bad for the Canadian fans. Part of me doesn't. Part of me thinks it's hilarious that they haven't won a cup in 30 years.
Yep.
Canada franchises, man, are just starved for action. It's just I don't know. I think they're going to find a way to come up short. I know that's not what you want to hear.
No.
But what do you think?
I mean, I've been watching as much as I can. I mean, a lot of the games are on late, obviously. Tonight's on 9:30.
Yeah.
We work day jobs. So I try to watch as much as I can. But, I mean, they're down. They lost 4-3. They're actually down big in that game on Sunday. And they came back and almost came all the way back and lost 4-3. But I don't know if you saw, but there was a cheap shot on my boy Connor McDavid. The guy actually got suspended. He hit, I think it was a cross check. What was it, to the back of the head or whatnot?
I did see it. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't major, but I understand what they're doing. I mean, it's kind of like the Tom Brady law. You know, if they touch
Did you see how it happened though?
Yeah, so, it was in front of the goal, wasn't it?
It was, but the reason why he got hit in the face is because he actually got hit in the back. Yep. So the cross check.
Yeah, so he was like going up. Yeah.
And as he was falling down, then the guy in front got him right in the teeth or the throat or something. So it's pretty bad. But you said he did get suspended for that?
I didn't see it. He let me see. I can pull it up. I believe he got game misconduct.
I didn't actually catch that. I mean, I guess it's fair. The rule is the rule. I didn't catch the suspension.
Let me see. Suspension. Hold on. Canucks after. Yeah, buzzer suspension. So game 3, 2-man cross check caused him to collapse to his knees. Scouting. Sorry, I'm trying to look this up real quick. Yeah, Carson Saucy.
Susie,
Susie. I believe he just got a 1-game suspension. I saw it the other day.
I think that's a just punishment. I mean, anything more than that would be too harsh. Anything less, and then fans start to feel like there's no consequences or repercussions. So I guess to me that makes sense. The punishment fits the crime.
Yeah, so I think that this may he suspended 1 game for actions in game 3. So this may wake up the team. I mean, like I said, they were at home. I mean, they're favored tonight, minus 200. So they're actually the favorite, and they're loaded. I mean, we talked about them all year long. Remember, they fired their coach, and after they fired their coach, they went on that 9-game win streak after I saw them. Then they went on a 15-game win streak, almost got the record. So they've been playing really good under that new coach, and this might wake them up because, like you said, you started off the show, McDavid, Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, Larson, Nugent Hopkins. I mean, this team's loaded, and for them not to go past the second round and not even make the Stanley Cup, not even sniff the Stanley Cup, is going to be a disappointment. So I hope this wakes them up because obviously I'm rooting for my boys. Again, Drop Hat killed it, so I'm hoping for them, and I'll be wearing it proud. I'll still wear it proud. It's a lovely hat, but I'm going to wear it even prouder when they win the Stanley Cup. So I'm calling it go out Oilers.
Yeah. Speaking of suspensions, I don't know if you saw, but Valeri Nichushkin on the Avs just got suspended, I think, for 6 months, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
He's a pretty good player to the Avs. I think they're going to miss him. They lost last night. He wasn't available against that game 4 in at home. Actually, he entered stage 3 of the substance abuse program. I'm not familiar with all the stages and the steps required, but all I can tell you is I know that that's not a good sign. I hope for the best for the guy, but it sounds like he's going through a tough time. Health, there's nothing more important than your health. So, you got to put that first, and hopefully he's getting the help he needs. But bad timing for sure. I mean,
for sure, definitely.
Affects the chemistry in the locker room. It's a bit of a distraction. And I think it showed last night. They were in a tough spot. I mean, they were at home, and I think they gave up a shorthanded goal yesterday, and they're in a tough spot. I mean, I picked Dallas to be my cup winner. So it's not like, there's nothing to slouch about to losing to them, but Nichushkin entering the program is just, it's bad timing for everybody. But yeah, they're going to miss him, I think.
Yeah, they didn't say what it was. I was listening to Boomer and Geo this morning. They didn't say if it was either PEDs or street drugs. I mean, I don't know if you caught anything. I know the NFL is kind of
failed the drug test.
Yeah, the NHL is kind of suspect when they report stuff, so they weren't sure. But I mean, if you fail the drug test, it could have really been anything. But I mean, 6 months is a long time. I mean, that's
it is, and he's at an interesting point in his career because he's already won a cup. Some people are thinking, he doesn't really have anything left to play for and prove. So maybe he just tries to get the help he needs and he moves on to something else in his life. But at the same time, he just turned, I think, 29. He's only played 500 games in his career, so he could easily play another 6, 7, 8, 9 years, whatever it is, and contribute to a team. So I wish the guy a lot of luck, but you never want to see somebody kind of where he is. It sounds like he's going through a tough time.
Yeah, I mean, look at Evander Kane. I mean, he's on my Oilers too, and he wasn't he suspended a half a year for betting or a full year, and then he came back and he's doing pretty good on the Oilers. Another guy who's on their team, so they're stacked. But yeah, I mean, they going off of coming back, he was able to come back. So I mean, he might be able to come back. And then another guy I wanted to talk about was Kuznetsov with the Hurricanes. I mean, he kind of drifted off with the Capitals and then got traded off, and he had a hell of a game last night. And I think he's had 3 or 4 goals in the series. And he's another guy who kind of drifted off and then kind of had a career rebuild with coming back with the Hurricanes.
Yep.
So it can happen.
I'm looking right now that, again, the benefit of doing this show in the evenings is we got a game right now that's going live. It's Florida and Boston. And it looks like Boston just scored. And I wanted to bring this up because there was a somewhat controversial call in the last game. And we've got another one here right now. It looks like Florida's challenging for goaltender interference.
Oh, wow.
It's tough to see. And they called it a goal. And this time Boston ends up being, I guess, the benefactor. And it's really tough. I kind of want your opinion on this in a second. Did you catch the one last game where the player was cross-checked into the goalie?
Yeah, with Reinhart.
Yeah.
Or not Reinhart, with the Bennett. Yeah, he cross-checked.
I thought that was a good call. I know Boston fan, the coach, Montgomery, was up in arms because he felt that there was interference, but that kind of stuff happens a lot, man. And to me, it looked like a love tap. He just a gentle nudge. The guy happened to fall into the goalie, and he put it through. I know the rule says if you impede the goalie's ability to make the save or play the puck or whatever the language is, that it's supposed to be no goal. But to me, that was kind of ticky-tack. So I don't mind that they left it as a goal, but I was curious your thoughts because everybody in Boston obviously says it's just a crap call and they got hosed.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, 2-3 weeks ago when we were talking about the Lightning Panthers series. Remember, they had the 2 goals taken away from the Lightning. And, it's I actually mentioned that maybe they should go back to the drawing board and either, one, if the goalie gets touched, blow the whistle and kill the play, or, figure something out because a lot of this stuff happens. I mean, easily, I think last night I agree with you 100%. I mean, obviously I'm going for the Panthers for the love for, friend of the show, Chris Dolan, and obviously going for the Panthers, but I think it was a good call. I mean, he did get cross-checked, but still he didn't really impede anything. I mean, he's already shot the goal from what I saw. Yeah. And, all the goalie needs to do really is stretch his leg and like fake a little bit, like, as they call flop, and then he'll call goaltender interference. I mean, it doesn't hurt the challenge. I mean, it does hurt the challenge because if you lose a challenge, you get a penalty. And I think that's a really cool thing. I really do like how the NHL does that. And I don't know if the NFL can get that or the NBA can get that because it's really cool because you're challenging. And if you miss it, it should be a penalty because you're. So I think it's a red area, but I think it was a good call. So it's not,
I do too. Yeah. The same thing. It works both ways. And I mean, you could make the argument that right now in the game that's going on, Boston got a makeup call or whatever, but I don't think it was that. If you look at the replay, you could see the Boston player is at the top of the crease. There's maybe a little minimal contact with his arm or the stick or something, but it looks like he's outside the crease. And a player has just as much right to that space as the goalie does. I mean, to me, you can't just call all those things goalie interference. There's got to be an expectation that players can fight and battle for the puck. And There might be some incidental contact here and there, but to me, it's got to be just so egregious and obvious to take a goal off the board. But yeah, I agree with you too. I like the idea of a penalty. It forces teams to be smart and use challenges where they think it actually is egregious. So it's good stuff.
I don't remember if you remember back in the day. I haven't seen it in probably, I don't know, 5-6 years. Remember the goalies used to freaking slash them with their stick to tell them to get out of the crease. I mean, maybe they go back to that because people will learn. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen it in 6 years, but I remember, Bador used to do that. Patrick Waugh used to do that. Dominic Hasek used to do that. They'd take their stick and they would whack the dudes and they'd get out of the crease. They would learn.
That you don't see that much anymore. I haven't seen it very.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
guys who were, like you said, that were just known for doing it. Where you
learned your lesson because you don't have have pads on the back of your leg, so you're going to get hit in the back of the calf with the stick. I mean, you're going to get a penalty, but you're going to be out of the crease, and you're going to learn.
Back in the day when I played hockey, I was one of those guys who liked to park in front of the net, even though I'm not a big guy. I would like to get rebounds, deflections, try to screen the goalie, and this one guy, he doesn't listen to our pod, I don't think, unfortunately, our show, but his name is Chris First, and he went to Manatee High School in Bradenton, and we had some awesome battles playing high school hockey, and he was the guy who would hit you in the back of the knee as the goalie. I got a number of whacks at him, and I think I even gave him a couple whacks back, which I should have probably gotten a penalty for it, but we had some good battles and good times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, maybe that's what the goalie's got to get taught to do again. I mean, get out of my crease. I mean, you're going to get a penalty, but I don't know. Like I said, it's a lot of things that need to go back to the drawing board. I mean, we could talk about this forever. It's a touchy subject with the goalie interference. So.
Yeah. A couple of the other series have been pretty good. I mean, Rangers were looking like they were unbeatable for a while, but they finally got 2 losses to Carolina, which was nice. Carolina, I thought it was all going to be over yesterday. In the Garden, but and they were down
1-0 in the third period. Yeah,
it was 1-0, and they gave up a shorthanded goal. I mean, Carolina, some of their stuff's been a little self-inflicted. If they can clean some of that up, which it looks like they were starting to do at the end of that last game, they really poured it on. I think they have a legit shot of making this interesting when it looked like they were left for dead 3-0 in the series. But they go back to Carolina now. It's not going to be easy, but if they win 3-3 and it comes down to a final game, which will be in the Garden, it'll be tough, but they've clawed their way back, and that's something that we've talked about on the show. Only I think 4 times in history has a team come back from down 3-0 to win. So I'm pulling for them. I don't want to see the Rangers.
Nobody does. I don't think anybody does. A crazy stat I heard last night, and I tried to look on it before we got going, but I want to say when I was watching the game last night, I don't know if you heard it too, but they were saying that over the last 6 years, if the Carolina Hurricanes don't make the Stanley Cup, it'll be the team that has the highest winning percentage over the last 6 years to not make the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
which I thought was a really interesting stat. I don't know if you heard that, but
they
did say it last night, and I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. I mean, that's pretty high to have the highest winning percentage in 6 years.
Yeah,
and if they don't make the Stanley Cup this year, it'll be the team with the highest winning percentage, obviously, not to repeat myself.
It's because they've been so good lately the last few years. I want to say Rod Brind'Amour is the second ever coach who has started his career 6 years in a row of making the playoffs. So they've always had a good record. They've had a lot of points. I think Pat Burns, the rest in peace, Burns, former Devils coach, I think he was the only other NHL coach who 6 years in a row to begin your career, make the playoffs every time. That's pretty good. Usually,
that's awesome.
Think about when you take over a job as a coach. Usually, you're taking over. The last guy got fired, maybe because the team wasn't so great, but to go ahead and make the playoffs right away and do it for 6 years is pretty good. Last year, the Hurricanes were second in the league because I know that because the Devils were right behind him in third. And this year, what were they again? I think third place they were. So
they missed out on 3 points from the Rangers for the President Trophy.
Exactly. Second or third place again. So they're up there. That's not a badge you want to wear, man. I mean, you definitely want that success. Brind'Amour has a lot to be proud of, but if you can't get to the conference finals, get to the cup, win a cup, it's all for naught. Then you put yourselves in the conversation of the Leafs, the Oilers. I mean,
not my Oilers. We're not touching my Oilers yet. Yeah, we got this year.
Not yet.
Not yet. We're not touching my Oilers yet. But no, like I said, I don't mean to repeat myself again, but I hope that was a really interesting stat because obviously the NHL has been around forever, but 6 years in a 6-year span to have a high winning percentage and not make the cup. That's pretty interesting. But it says a lot about Rod Brind'Amour. It says a lot about that franchise. I mean, hell, didn't they win the Stanley Cup in only like 4 or 5 years of existence back in 2006?
They were around from 96, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so it was 10 years. 97. Okay, so it wasn't as quick as Vegas did last year, but okay. Yeah. But still, I mean, they had some good teams. I mean, they had Cam Ward back then, really good goalie.
So you just touched on something. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is I'm glad you said that because my brother roots for Carolina a little bit. He lived there for a couple of years, and he's got a little soft spot for him. And so we texted about the game, and when they went down 3-0, I was like, man, what is their problem? And I said, I was looking at Anderson, who I'm just not a big fan of in goal, and I told him, I said, man, when was the last time the Hurricanes had a good goalie, an above average goalie, a number one? And I said to him, was it Cam Ward? I was like, back in 06, 07, like 18 years ago. Like, I mean, that's just forever ago. And honestly, they're not alone. Like the Oilers, it's the same thing. I mean, when's the last time the Oilers had a really, really good goalie? I mean, Nikolai Hobby-Bulin? I mean, he wasn't even great when he was on the Oilers. Like Curtis Joseph back in the day, he wasn't even great with them.
Cujo, yeah.
Maybe Grant Fuhrer. I mean, I can't think of – the Oilers made the cup in was it 06 when they lost to the Hurricanes? They lost to somebody when they had Dwayne Rollison in goal.
Dwayne Rollison, that's
former Lightning goalie. But I mean, you get the point. I was thinking some of these teams, and you mentioned Cam Ward. Like he's the last goalie I can think of. And as much as I say sometimes goaltending is a bit of a crapshoot nowadays, you still need a guy who you can rely upon. I mean, look at Shesterkin. You think it's a coincidence that the Rangers started 7-0? No, he's one of the best goalies in the league. But Bobrovsky isn't usually a great playoff goalie. He's playing like it this year, but he's a good regular season goalie. He's carrying Florida. Look at Swayman and Ullmark. I mean, those guys were the two best goalies in the league, and they've carried Boston this far. So if the Canes don't win it, they might need to go after a goalie next year. I mean,
look at Anaheim Ducks. What was that? John Sebastian Giguere, or however you say his last name. But he, when they won the Stanley Cup, I mean, they rode his pigtails. Also, Jonathan Quick with the Kings. I mean, he won 3 with them, right? 2 or 3 with the Kings with Jonathan Quick. So two. So it talks about having a goalie. You can ride the coattails of a goalie, and I mean, that's I know we kind of went sidetracked, but I mean, Patrick Waugh too with the Avalanche. I mean. There's a lot. Dominic Hasek. I mean, you can name off Martin Brodeur. You can keep naming off guys that have teams that have goalies and they just ride the coattails. So we got sidetracked, but I mean, if the Oilers and like I said, the Hurricanes, if they don't win it, I mean, they have the goalie to blame. But I don't know if you knew this. Why did Anderson not start? What was it, game 3 in Carolina?
They put in that guy Chekhov, right?
Yeah, that rookie. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, maybe going with a different. I don't think he was hurt. I don't know.
I don't think it was either because
for some reason you guys started Varlamov instead of Sorokin.
That was stupid. That was stupid. I don't want to get going on them.
But I don't know. I don't know why. But that might speak to what we're talking about. Is maybe Anderson is not that bona fide number one. I mean, because there's some guys, like Shesterkin, like Vasilevsky. No matter how bad that guy is. You don't sit them. You might pull them if they have a bad night and they're getting shelled. They let up 4, 5, 6 goals. You pull them, but then you go back to them the next game, right? Because you figure it's a fluke. But in this case, Anderson is not those guys. So he has a bad game or 2 games or whatever it is, and then the coach is like, "Oh, maybe I'll go with Chekhov." I don't know.
So, like I said, we got a little sidetracked, but I mean, it just goes to our point. I mean, talking about goalies. I mean, one more we can name is Carey Price with Montreal Canadiens. Remember him? So there was another goalie. I mean, but interesting stuff. I mean, talking about Colorado real quick. I mean, Dallas, I know you mentioned it. They won 5-1. I think that series is over. I thought Florida would easily win at home tonight, but I mean, obviously there's a whole period to go. The Bruins shouldn't go away this quickly. They're like we talked about it 2 weeks ago. I mean, they have a lot of animosity towards the Panthers. I mean, they took them out last year. I just thought they'd come up big, a lot bigger than lose 2 at home. I mean, that's a nail breaker right there.
Yeah. I knew they wouldn't go quietly, and it's because of Swayman and Omar. I mean,
exactly.
He's been standing on his head this series. So as long as you got a good goalie, you pretty much know you got a fighting chance, So
exactly.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting if they can win tonight and go back to Boston. They put themselves in the same situation as the Canes. Not going to be easy, but they got a chance.
Yep, exactly. So I don't think you want to bring up the bracket. There's really not much changing of last week because nothing's really changed. I mean,
no, maybe we'll do it once the conference finals start. But
we can kind of see where the brackets are and all the play standings and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to talk quickly. Not much really, I think, to talk about football, but we talked about it in the pre-show, and something caught my attention. So you mentioned that the schedule is due out, I think tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the big, yep.
They started teasing some of the games to build some hype, which I just think is kind of stupid because honestly, I heard the conversation this morning and I was like, oh, the schedule's out. So let me go check and see when the Giants play and things like that. And I'm looking around for it and I'm like, oh, it's not out. What am I hearing? And then I realized they're just teasing these little games. And it's like, can you really just release the whole thing? And so, but that's how the NFL works, is they try to put you on the hook. But anyway, with the scheduling, I don't know if you saw this, but the NCAA, obviously, we know is extending their playoffs next year, right? It's going to be 12 teams. So I think there's going to be more weeks now. So now, typically at the end of their season, there's games on a Saturday, and they are now, normally they don't matter, or there's usually not a game, but because the season is going to be longer, it's going to impact the NFL or vice versa. And there are going to be both NFL and NCAA games on the same Saturday around the same time. And I think that kind of does suck because it sucks for everybody. It sucks for the NCAA, I think, most of all, because they're going to have to compete with the NFL. They're probably going to lose, if I'd have to say that. Although, college football certainly got its huge fan base and passionate fans, but NFL usually is king. But it also, NFL is doing themselves a disservice because why would you want to compete with the NCAA? It just seems like a power trip by Roger Goodell. They just have to own every piece of the calendar. And the last thing I want to say about it is they're playing games on Christmas this year, which they did this past year, but Christmas will be on a Wednesday. And that's
I was just talking about that. Yeah.
The only day that there hasn't really been NFL games, Wednesday or Friday. And I think they need to leave some of that stuff as sacred. As much as we love football, I don't want it every day. It's going to lose its luster. I mean, it's just going to be watered down and diluted. And they're competing with the NBA. I guess the NBA has typically had games on Christmas, and it's like now they're fighting for them. And it's like, NFL, Goodell, just leave well enough alone, But it sounds like you saw the same stuff, huh?
Yeah, I saw the same thing. So a couple of things I wanted to mention also. They're actually starting on a Friday in Brazil. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't.
They're actually starting on Friday, September. So they're starting on Thursday, obviously. And then the second game of the season is going to be Friday, September 6th, Packers versus the Eagles in Brazil. Wow. And so that's going to be going up against college football as well to start the season. And then the other thing, obviously, the 2 games on Christmas Day, they're on a Wednesday. So listening this morning on Boomer and Geo, it's going to be really interesting to see which teams they pick because, obviously, if you pick those teams, they're not going to be wanting to play a couple games before. So they're thinking it might be the Thursday games the week before, and then they play Wednesday, or they have coming off of a bye, maybe having teams coming off a bye because you're not going to play, you're not going to play Sunday and then play 2 days later on Wednesday. So that's going to be very interesting to see which teams they pick. I'm looking right here. It looks like
they almost have to make it the teams coming off a bye or getting a bye because
they already picked the Chiefs and Steelers as of one game. So the Chiefs and Steelers are one of the games on Christmas. The other one says TBA. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do because it looks like that week they're playing Wednesday, they're playing Thursday, they're playing Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Okay.
So they have games, flat 4 days a week. And like I said, it's going to be interesting because you mentioned college football expanded to 12 teams. So that's already going to be a higher hype, especially with my Notre Dame Fighting Irish sitting right there. So, I'm going to be watching them.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people love college football. And college football is a lot higher than NFL because, just living here in Northeast Florida, a lot of people like college football more than NFL. I don't know what your thoughts are or what you've heard, but it's going to be hard to gain. A lot of people are going to have to go out and go to Buffalo Wild Wings or have 2 TVs, but it's very interesting why they decided to make that schedule.
Yeah. It's I think it's a power trip, man. I really do.
It is a power trip. They want their money. We've talked about it. We've talked about it. It's a business. They want their money. I don't blame them, but sometimes you got to think not outside the box, but you got to think why, maybe sometimes give it a break and not really throw it down someone's throat so much. But that's my thoughts. Cause like I said, Christmas already has 4 or 5 basketball games, and now you're gonna have 2 football games, and then you're gonna play the next day, then you're gonna play Saturday. So it's very interesting. But another thing I wanted to talk about on football, I don't know if you saw, but the Lions they signed Jared Goff to a 4-year, $212 million contract with $171 million guaranteed.
Yep.
Richest in team history. So looks like they're committed to him. He hasn't played bad in Detroit. He was number 1 overall pick with Los Angeles back in 2015, 16, I want to say.
Yep.
Brought the Rams to a Super Bowl. Obviously, that was a Super Bowl where they lost, 10-3 to the Patriots. It was a sleeper.
Yeah.
And they decided to trade him away. And it's worked out well for both teams because Stafford won a Super Bowl with the Rams. And look what the Lions did last year. We talked about it. First time going to the playoffs since 2002, I want to say.
Yep.
So a lot of money given to him. I thought that was pretty cool, pretty interesting to look at.
Yeah, a lot of money. It shows that they really believe in him and that they're trying to win now. I can't blame them. They got a great team, both sides of the ball. They were really close this past year.
Great draft too.
What's that? Oh, draft.
Yeah, great draft.
Yeah. So I'm not that surprised. I think it's worth it. I heard comparing him to like Dak Prescott today, similar age, and I think I'd rather have Goff. I do. It seems like he's done more with less, in my opinion. So it's interesting. It's a lot of money, but I think it's a smart move.
And they also signed St. Brown and Penny Sewell to also lucrative contracts. So it looks like they've been, the money that they got from last year is really paying dividends, and they're building around their cornerstones, which I like when teams do that because it's cool when they show appreciation and not people leave everything. I know I think you're the same way. You're an old school guy where you like watching players stay on a team and get rewarded for good contracts and good success.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty cool. It's good.
I do too. Yeah. We got some more things we got to hit. We'll touch on some golf, the past tournament, the one coming up, and definitely get a little basketball and baseball. But you want to take a short break, do some beer?
Yeah, man. And then we also got the Preakness to talk about, my boy Mystic Dan.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll touch on that. Maybe we'll save that for the very end or something. I got a couple quick thoughts on the Preakness. Maybe a pick or two or some strategy. It's going to be interesting. And I didn't fare too well in the Derby, but I got some thoughts on it. So we'll take a short break. Make sure you stick with us. But you're listening to the Overtime Sports Show. We'll be back in just a moment.
Yep, exactly.
Listeners, have you heard the news? Overtime Sports Show is thrilled to announce our brand new partnership with Drop Hat, the premier mystery and hat accessory subscription service that's taken the hat world by storm. Every month, Drop Hat delivers amazing snapbacks, fitteds, and other types of hats from industry giants like New Era, Mitchell & Ness, 47 brand, Nike, Adidas, and many more right to your doorstep. Whether you're a fan of sports and exercise or even pop culture, there's a box just for you. Boxes start at just $39.95 and are completely customizable to each subscriber, and they're available in monthly or quarterly plans. As a reward for being a loyal listener, use promo code OTSSROCKS20 at checkout for an exclusive 20% discount off your first box. Visit thedrophat.com to subscribe and let Drop Hat style you like the legend you are.
Buddy. Right. That's awesome. Yeah, always hits.
It is time for the beer reviews segment, and my notes say that you went first last time. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna take a crack at it and go first this episode.
Yep, I'm pumped about mine. I got some cool things about mine.
Okay, I got a pretty interesting one here. So, I don't even know this about you. I'm gonna guess that you know of it. Don't know if you were as big of a fan as you were as I was as a kid, but do you remember these guys? Legion of Doom?
Yes, I do actually. Yes.
So I was pretty big into wrestling as a kid growing up.
Yokozuna, Lex Luger. Oh yeah.
Yep. WWF was my jam.
Mankind.
I had a ton of like, wrestling figures. I had wrestling buddies. I had I think wrestling themed parties as a kid, and these guys were just they're unmistakable with their spiked vests, their makeup on. I remember their names. I don't remember which is which. One of them is Hawk, which I think is the bald one, and the other one's Animal. And there was a third too that joined him, I think, at some point. But for the most part, these guys were like a tag team. And when I saw this can, I was like, gotta get it. There's not much on it other than it's from Hoof-Hearted Brewing, and it says if you can't be good, be bald. So
I like that.
That kind of spoke to me too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's right there on the can, but other than that, I mean just look at it. There's not much.
Yeah, there's not much
on there about the beer itself. Again, Hoof-Hearted Brewing. It's 8.5%. It's a double IPA. So if that tells you anything,
you're not an IPA guy.
I'm not an IPA guy. I'm not a double IPA guy. I've had a couple on this show before, and they've surprised me. So I'm hoping this one surprises me in a good way. But
so a quick timeout before you go. So Road Warrior Animal was Joseph Laurinaitis, and his son James Laurinaitis was a linebacker at Ohio State, linebacker with the St. Louis Rams, and I think he's a coach now.
Wow, I know the name Laurinaitis. I didn't know that was his real name. Really?
Joseph Laurinaitis, that's his dad. James Laurinaitis, like I said, played football at Ohio State, was a stud linebacker, and played for the St. Louis Rams. So, yes.
That makes a lot of sense because it looks like they're wearing football vests with spiked on them, shoulder pads and all that. So, that's cool.
Yeah, James Laurinaitis.
Awesome. Good stuff. I had no idea, but it makes sense. So,
I knew it was ringing a bell, and I was like, Legion of Doom, and I was thinking in my head, I was like, I got to get these guys. So, James Laurinaitis. Right now, he is the linebacker coach at Ohio State, and he played from 2009 to 2016 in the NFL for the Rams and the Saints.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's hard to see with this glass. I got to get another one, but there actually is a pretty good head on that.
I see it. Yep.
It's bouncing between the line on the top of the glass, but it's about a half-inch, quarter-inch of head right there. Which is
percent on that should be about 9% with a double IPA, right?
Say that again.
The percentage should be about 8-9%.
8.5.
Oof.
So
all right, I like it.
It's got a very, very distinct
hoppy
aroma. Yeah, hoppy for sure. We'll see.
I'm interested to see how you like this because you're not an IPA guy. So
it's pretty good.
Really?
Maybe I'm becoming an IPA guy. I don't know.
Welcome to the club, my man.
That was good. That was it doesn't taste quite the way it smells. Like when you smell it, it just to me it smells like it's gonna be bitter, but it's really not. Get one more.
And I might have interrupted you, or you didn't finish. Did you say what the brewery was or who makes it? Sorry.
Yeah. So no, it's just one of the only things that's on the can, because it's hard to describe this beer, and I'll get to it in a moment, but there's no description of this beer. I mean, other than it's a double IPA, it just doesn't tell you the aroma, the other style, but it's Hoof-Hearted Brewing. You can see that there.
Oh, I see it right there. Yep. And where are they out of? Does it say?
They are North Haven, Connecticut.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So never heard of them before. Literally never heard of Hoof-Hearted Brewing. I guess something with dogs, or not dogs, but hooves. Like, what is that? Deer or whatever animal has hooves. I don't know, but it's pretty good. I got to give this an 8.2.
Wow.
It's quite good. Way better than I thought. I just didn't think I would like IPAs or double IPAs, but this is good.
Wow. So this, I just looked it up. This says it's out of Columbus, Ohio, Hoof-Hearted Brewery and Kitchen. So maybe they're in two different places. So maybe
brewed and canned by Hoof-Hearted Brewing, North Haven, Connecticut, distributed by 12%. If that means anything. It doesn't say where they're from, but I don't know.
Interesting. So maybe Laurinaitis has a hand in it if it's out of Columbus, Ohio. I mean, that's what this website's saying, but who knows?
Yeah, but yeah, 8.2 on this. I guess that's the name of it. If you can't be good, be bald is the name of the beer. It's kind of wordy, but that's it. So
interesting.
8.2
on the Chris Dolan scale. Anything over 8, that means you go back for it. So
yes, and I would honestly, if somebody asked me, should I get this? I'm a double IPA fan. Yes, absolutely.
All right, so I got a special beer for me. So this week, I don't know if you know it, it's actually American Craft Beer Week, and it's from May 13th to May 19th. And what that means is it's local communities that they promote local breweries. So obviously, a couple weeks ago, I was able to do the Bog Brewing Company, and I did their Blood Orange Sour. Yep. This afternoon, I went to another local brewery, and it's called Old Coast Ales in St. Augustine, Florida. Logo's pretty cool. And another drop is Kookaburra. It's a coffee brown ale, and Kookaburra is a local coffee roastery here in St. Augustine. So, like I told you earlier, I'm dropping 2 local brands, Old Coast Ales and Kookaburra. Like I said, this is a coffee brown ale, and it's, like I said, from St. Augustine, Florida, infused with local roasted coffee. Trying to see if they got ABV on here. I want to say it's about 4.5.
What type is that? Is that a porter?
No, it's a coffee brown ale. You can see it right there.
Yeah,
coffee brown ale, and it's infused with coffee. And like I said, local brewery in St. Augustine called Old Coast Ales, and they use Kookaburra coffee, which is a local roastery here in St. Augustine. So this is another big boy, so it's going to be interesting. But we'll be drinking it the rest of the show.
Wow, look at that.
Yep.
It looks like you're drinking Folgers right there.
And it's got a very, very strong coffee aroma. I know you're not a coffee guy, but you may like this one.
Peel off that label. Does it say Maxwell House underneath it?
No, sir. Kookaburra. So right off the rip, you can smell coffee. I mean, you could smell the malts, the roastedness from the coffee, and then you can smell the brown. I mean, you can see the flavor. I mean, look at that. Not the flavor, but the color. It's definitely a coffee brown. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That is really good. So obviously, since it's a local St. Augustine beer, I'm going to go back and get more, but I'm going to give this an 8.3. Very delicious.
Okay. Is it what you expected?
Yes. So, I mean, like I said, I was there this afternoon. Went there because, like I said, it's American Craft Beer Week. I wanted to get something different. I wanted to get something local and something that I've never had before. And I've had the Kookaburra coffee before. It's they do a bunch of coffee drinks, and I've had Old Coast Ale, so kind of combined them together. And I'm a coffee guy. I know you're not huge, but I think it's got really good flavors. You would probably like it. It's a good beer.
I would try it. I'm not a coffee guy at all. My whole life, I wish I was. The flavor just doesn't really appeal to me.
But this is it uses all the coffees good, like a brown ale that you would think of, and then you get like the coffee at the end. So it uses all the unique flavors of everything. Yeah. So very good beer. So
cool. Hey,
cheers, my man. Yep. like I said, this is a big boy. This is a 32 ouncer, so I'll be drinking this the rest of the show.
Yeah, I don't even know.
There's probably 16. Those are probably 16.
It is 16. Yours is 32?
Yeah, wow. That's what my bog was too. That's how they, at these breweries, I don't know if you notice when you go to yours, but they have the can machines where they can fill them up.
Is that, what are like when you go to any kind of sporting event nowadays, they do the tall boys. Are those 32? Because those
tall boys are 24, I want to say.
And yours is even bigger than that?
Yeah, right here, 32.
It doesn't look that big. The camera's not doing it justice because it's
32 ounce, 1 quart. See?
Wow, yeah, that's twice the size of mine, and even mine's like bigger than normal cans. What, 12 ounces, 16? Yours is 32. Jeez,
yeah, that's how my bog one was 2 weeks ago. So,
nice.
So like I said, just wanted to do in honor of American Craft Beer Week. So.
I like it. Cheers to all the breweries out there doing the hard work and coming up with creative recipes.
And they got a cool logo too. I haven't taken you there, but see, like it's a bike, and then right here they got like kegs in the middle of it. So it's a pretty cool little logo, and Old Coast Ales, St. Augustine, Florida.
I like it. Good job, Og. Good job.
Yeah. Hey, the Og doesn't play.
All right, so a couple more things. Got a few minutes left. I think we can squeeze them all in. I want to acknowledge our PGA predictions last week. You went with.
Of course you do.
Well, I'm pretty damn good at guessing golf since we've been doing this show, and I thought I was going to nail it. You went with Adam Scott. I went with Xander Schauffele. I tuned in on Sunday, and I was watching. Schauffele was actually winning. I think he was up a stroke, and I'm like, I had to check myself. I was like, who did I pick again? And I was like, yep, it was Schauffele. And then he just, I don't want to say he crumbled because he really didn't. But, man, what a round Rory had. I mean.
Let me ask you a question. Was that before or after you sent me the text about Schauffele?
What did I send to you? I don't even remember.
You just sent his name, Schauffele, with like 7 exclamation points.
I think that was when he was still winning. I'm pretty sure.
And then you saw what I sent back.
Yes, I did. I'm pretty sure I sent that when he was still winning. Trying to ruffle your feathers, and I was feeling confident. But then, like I said, Schauffele, he didn't play great, but what a round Rory played. I mean,
it was ridiculous.
2 eagles on the back 9.
Yep.
I think, littered with birdies. The guy was he had a ridiculous shot out of the sand that he had no business making. I think that was 4 birdie, or maybe it was one of his eagles. It was just absolutely insane the way he was playing. He ended up winning by 5, I think.
Yes.
I think it was 17-12. So I feel pretty good. Schauffele came in second, and he was leading. So I can pick him. I think most of my guys that I've been picking
I think you're like 6-1.
I think for us, I think I'm 6-1, but even more than that, like I think the guys that I'm picking are finishing top 10, top 5. Schauffele was 2, so I've been pretty close. I've been pretty happy about that. I think we can make some predictions for this weekend. You got anybody in mind that you think is going to win at Valhalla?
So can I do a double pick, and I'll tell you why I'm going to do a double pick?
Because you suck compared to me, or
no?
Go for it. Tell me why you get 2 guys.
Beginning of the golf year, we had a little wager, remember? And we talked about my boy Eldrick, Tiger Woods.
Oh,
we talked about him making.
I'll give him to you for free.
All right. Well, I'm going to say he's going to at least make the cut, because if he makes the cut, you said that he was going to miss 2 out of 4. So he makes the cut. This will give him 2 out of 4, and we'll be tied. Yep. So I don't know if he'll win per se, but I know he's going to make the cut. I just want to point that out there. But to make the guy that I think is going to win, I'm going to go against the grind. I'm going to go against PGA Tour, and I'm going to go with Brooks Koepka.
Okay. I like Koepka.
I mean, I like Koepka too, but I don't like the live guys. But I mean, he's I want to say he's won 3 or 4 PGA Tour championships, and he's been playing pretty good on live. I know he won the last event in Australia a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to go with Brooks Koepka.
Okay. So, wow, this is tough. I mean,
I know it is.
Like, I really, after the show he just put on, I almost want to go Rory, but I mean, and how do you not like think a guy like Scheffler is going to win it? But
the funny stat is neither of us have any picked Scotty Scheffler yet. None of us have picked him for anything.
Right.
So he's been out there for the taking. Nobody's taking him.
He has been, and I want to, but he's coming off a little bit of a layoff. He's got his kid. Maybe he's a little distracted. I'm going to go Patrick Cantlay.
Ooh. So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's off.
We're out there. We're out there.
I picked him about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I believe.
And I'm giving you Woods, right, for free.
Yeah, I mean, if he wins galore, but he's definitely gonna make the cut. That's what I'm going with. And that way, it'll tie the 2 out of 4 that you said that he would miss. So this will get me qualified. I said he was going to make all 4 cuts, and so far he's 1 for 1.
Who was your primary pick again? Koepka.
Brooks Koepka.
All right, you got him. You got him. At the risk of being wrong for my original bet or prediction with Woods missing 2 out of the 4 cuts, I like Tiger. I've said this before.
I know you do. I know you just
cut. Golf's better with him, but and I'll give him a lot of credit. Honestly, I will if he makes it, because just that last round. I mean, he made the cut, which is great, but the way he finished,
it was rough.
Last DFL, dead freaking last. I mean,
he still made about 700,000.
Yeah, it's true. He made more money that tournament than I'll probably make in my lifetime. I should shut up, but
exactly. So I got faith in my dude.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'll be watching most of the rounds and whatnot.
So
you got some thoughts on basketball?
Yeah. So I got
one thing I want to mention.
Sure.
Not even really playoff related. So I'll just get this out of the way, and then maybe we can dive into a couple of the matchups. But there's been I don't know why. I guess maybe because of the combine, I didn't even know that other leagues besides the NFL had combines basically for players entering the draft. I guess it's just kudos to the NFL and how they do their marketing and whatnot. But the NBA had their combine, I think today or over the weekend recently, and there's a lot of hype about Bronny James, and he's just been in the media now. And it just got me thinking, and I want your opinion, is just got to be so much pressure on this poor kid following in the footsteps of his father, who's wherever you want to slot him, top 3, top 5, maybe he is the best at. I don't know. There's no denying that LeBron is one of the greatest players ever. And it just got me thinking, like, what other sports, any sports, not just basketball, but what other sports have really had a player give birth to a kid, a son, who carried on their legacy and achieved either the same amount of success or even more than their father? Like, I was thinking of a couple examples, and I didn't do any research on this, so I might be missing some obvious ones, but I was thinking about like hockey. I know a couple guys. As I get older, I see some guys who have, had some sons enter the league, which makes you feel real old. But Paul Stastny is one of them. I remember Peter Stastny. I was a little young, but he played on some teams, and then his son joined the league and had a pretty good career. Neither one of them were amazing, but they had good careers. The other one I'm thinking of is like William Nylander, who's on the Leafs, right? He's a really good player. His father, Michael Nylander, I watched growing up. But again, neither one of those guys are amazing. So I was just thinking, I'm like, we could be seeing something potentially really, really great. If Bronny James ends up being this great player, does he actually meet the expectations of everybody? The other one that came to mind, and it remains to be seen, he's not exactly his father, but there's a whole bunch of buzz on Arch Manning, who, is not Peyton's son. He's not Eli's son, but he's their nephew, Cooper's son, right?
Yeah.
But can you think of any other examples? Like, am I missing anything obvious where it just seems like when there's hype on a child, they never live up to the hype? Like, again, Brodeur, right? My favorite goalie ever, top 3 goalie of all time, in my opinion, the best goalie ever. He has a son, Jeremy Brodeur. He's still playing hockey. He's just not as good as his father. How could you be, right? I mean, you just can't live up to that legacy.
Yeah, so I'm looking at some research here. They gave me a top 20 on Bleacher Report, and I'm going to go top 5 and see if you agree with this.
Okay.
Let's see. So number 1, they have Bobby and Brett Hall, which is pretty legit.
Yeah, that's
pretty legit.
Yeah. That's going back a ways because I mean I watched Brett Hall. I didn't get to watch his father, but yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one.
This is a sport we don't really
touch on. Good.
We don't really touch on the sport, but Lee and Richard Petty. Richard Petty was
okay.
Obviously a really good NASCAR driver, number 43. I mean, we don't really touch on it.
Then I think you got to do both the Earnhardts, right?
Yes, but not as much because Earnhardt died. Dale Earnhardt Sr. died.
Senior was really good when he died, and now you got Junior, who was really good, I think.
This one's a little interesting. It's got Man of War and War Admiral. I guess they were horse racers.
They were.
Horses, yeah. Yep.
I know War Admiral. I didn't remember Man of War. That's funny.
Dick and Pete Weber. Pete Weber is a really good bowler, and I guess his dad was a really good bowler.
Okay.
Another NASCAR, Ned and Dale Jarrett.
Yep, I know Dale Jarrett.
Gordy and Mark Howe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Mark wasn't amazing, though.
Bobby Bonds and Barry Bonds.
Yeah. Was Bobby that good? Before my time, I don't really remember.
Second player in 300 home runs and 300 stolen bases in a career.
Yeah.
And as my dad would say, Barry Bonds is a piece of you-know-what.
Yeah. I don't think he's alone in that opinion.
I don't think he is either. Another one, obviously, talking about the Mannings. I mean, look at Archie, Peyton, and Eli. Those are his sons. Archie Manning. He had a pretty decent player than that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So there's a couple. It's just not often.
One more I just want to mention, Griffey Sr. and Griffey Jr. They were the first father-son to hit a home run in the same game, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't know that. That is pretty cool.
Yep.
In the same game, huh? They didn't play for the same team, though.
Yeah, they did. They played with Seattle. And
did they? I don't remember that. Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool.
So just a couple. I mean, and then you got nothing too major. Del Curry and Stephen Curry and Seth Curry, for the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
You have Rick and Brent Berry. Formula One, Al Unser Jr. They're pretty big names in Formula One. So, I mean, there's a couple, but no, to go off what you said, not to kill too much time, I mean, Bronny James, going off of what his dad does, especially nowadays with LeBron James coming into the league in 2003. Growing up in the media, growing up in social media, it's tough to follow. So to go off of that, I actually did some research before. I mean, he supposedly had the 4th highest vertical jump. I don't know if you saw that in NBA Combine history. Wow. It was like 40.5 on a vertical jump. He was 19 to 25 for shooting 3-pointers. I don't know. A lot of this stuff is going to pop out just because of his name. So, we'll see what happens. I didn't think that he was going to stay in the draft, but it seems like he is because I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, he has until, I want to say, end of next week to either stay in the draft or withdraw and then either transfer to a team or go from there. But, doing the combine, I guess he's going to see what's going on. And apparently this is a weak draft. There's one prospect, Alex Sarr. He's a 7-footer out of France. He's supposed to be the number 1 overall pick going to Atlanta Hawks. And he's supposed to be similar to Victor Wembanyama with the Spurs. But Alex Sarr is a name to look out for.
Does anybody pick Edie? Where does he fall?
I don't know, man. He I saw today that he's got a 3-pointer. He's trying to develop a 3-point shot. So we'll see what happens. But
as a 7'4" center?
Yeah. So,
dude, stick to what you're good at, man. Stick to your core.
Well, look at Victor Wembanyama. He's 7'4". He hits a 3.
Does he?
Yeah.
When would he ever be in a position to do that, though? I want my center under the basket, under the rim.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm sure he gets drafted, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I guess. So, how bad did the Pistons get hosed, man? Back-to-back years, the 5th pick.
It's actually 3 years in a row.
Oh,
so they had the best chance 3 years in a row to get the number 1 overall pick, and they got hosed. Yeah,
screwed. I
they
guess
could have had Paolo Banchero. Right? They could have had Paolo Banchero in 2022. They could have had Victor Wembanyama last year, and they could have had Alex Sarr this year. And they ended up being Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and this guy Asar Thompson. So we'll see. But remember, I told you they're going to be good in 5 years. I'm still sticking by it.
Yeah, that's sports, man. I've come to know that. There's certainly been teams in all sports over the years who are consistently good and sort of break the mold a little bit, but at the same time, teams that I cheer for, teams that I don't cheer for, it's all over. Like the Devils had success for a good 15-year period. They won 3 cups. It seemed like the playoffs were a given. Then they went a decade with nothing, so it goes up and down. Look at football. Like I could care less about the Patriots, but they were as dominant as a franchise could be. And now they've been garbage for the last 5 years. So it goes up and down, man. It really does. It's like the sun, it's going to come up, it's going to go down. So
my Yankees too. They won.
Your Yanks. I can't
96, 98, 99, 2000.
2009 is last World Series, man. There's kids, not even kids, 14, 15 years. There's gonna be adults soon who have not seen a Yankees World Series.
Well, they'll win a World Series before they're adults, so they'll win this year. I'm not worried about it.
You heard it here first.
I'm not worried about it, but we want to talk a little bit about NBA. We kind of got a little sidetracked, but really good sidetracks. Talking about father-son combos, but I think there's some really good playoffs going on. I don't know if you've been watching it, but on the West side, I mean, everything's tied up. Thunder, Mavericks, and Timberwolves and Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
The Nuggets series is very interesting to me because no home team has won. The Timberwolves won in Denver, and the Denver won in Minnesota to tie that bad boy up. And then last night, the Mavericks, or 2 nights ago, the Mavericks tied it up with the Thunder, or the Thunder tied it up with the Mavericks, and they play again tonight. So that's going to be a really fun series. Obviously, the Cavaliers won last night. They're up 3-1 going back home. Right now, it's a 15.5-point spread for the Celtics to win, and they play tomorrow night. And
I don't think it's deserving of that because the Cavs obviously took a game. They've already proven they can win. And last game, they lost by 7, I think, or 8. So it's not been completely.
It's going to be interesting because last game, Donovan Mitchell didn't even play. So it's going to depend on if Donovan Mitchell plays. Plus, remember, they're home record with 37-4. So they're really dominant at home.
That's, I think, the key is going back to Boston.
Yeah. And the Knicks are up by 15 at halftime right now in New York. So they had a little trouble in Indianapolis. And they tied it up 2-2.
Back that statement up. They had a lot of trouble in Indianapolis.
So you know what it is. You know what it is, not to cut you off. We've talked about it. You've asked me if they were healthy.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole year, I don't know if you know this or a lot of people know this, they only really ran a 7-man rotation. So meaning that they didn't really use their bench a lot.
Yeah.
And from what I saw in the end of Game 3 and all of Game 4, they were tired. So I think that the bench, not having a big bench and not really running a rotation, showed their tiredness on Sunday, and they got blown out. I think they lost by almost 34 points.
Yeah.
And, I mean, right now they're up by, like I said, they're up by 15, but still, I think they got tired in Indianapolis. And we'll see what happens these next couple games. But, they got smoke-checked in Indiana.
They really did. I was watching I watched almost all of that game, and it had me early on. That's how bad it was and how quickly it got out of control. I was looking at
it was 40-19 after the first quarter.
Yeah, I was looking at the largest margins of victory in the playoffs all time in the NBA, and they were up there. I think the worst is 42 points. I can't remember who it was, but 42. And at one point, I think it was 39 or 40 points. They were close to that. And, the Pacers stopped really trying to score in the last 10 minutes. They didn't have to. And the Knicks were just chucking up threes because it was the only thing they could do to try to get back in it. So it probably could have been even worse. But that was just a colossal beatdown. It was not competitive from the start. I mean, they were out of it in the first quarter. It was bad. So that stuck out to me, but I think you're right. I mean, I think it had to deal with Memphis being burnt out on the road, not a little healthy, and maybe they're righting the ship again up by double digits. And but they got to go back to Indiana, right? I mean, they got to
go back to Indiana. It's it's that's always been the knock on Tom Thibodeau is that he runs his team in the ground. He doesn't do a rotation. He runs like a 7-8-man rotation and runs his team in the ground, and that's always been a knock. And Brunson, I don't think Brunson's 100%. OG Anunoby hasn't played since Game 2, and they're playing a lot of guys that haven't played all year. Alec Burks, he came off the bench. He played for the first time in like 3 months. I don't know if you remember they said that on the broadcast the other night, but it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, like I said, they right the ship tonight, but I don't know how they're going to do it because obviously Boston is in the driver's seat up 3-1, and if the Knicks are tired and unhealthy, they might get blown off the court in Boston.
They could. Boston's scary. So
they really are. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford. I mean, Drew Holiday. They got some studs.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, sir.
What do you think? You want to touch on baseball, or you want to go to the Preakness?
Let's do a little bit of baseball. So my Yankees, they're playing really well. They went to Tampa last week. They took 2 out of 3. Before that, they were winning 5 in a row. So I want to say they've won. Yeah, they're 7 of 8. They've won, and they're tied with Baltimore at 26-14 in the division. So they're playing really well, and they're doing this all without 1, Garrett Cole, and 2, Jason Dominguez, who he's a young player who came up last year, who's a stud. They call him the Martian. He's a 20-year-old beast. So they've been doing all this without their 2 major players. And Aaron Judge actually started off the year very, very rough. Mm-hmm. He's just now getting back into rhythm. So, I mean, it's going to get nasty in a little bit. I mean, obviously, I got a lot of faith in my boys. I'm a huge Yankee fan, as everybody knows, but I think it's going to get nasty because Garrett Cole's looking good. We're about to get Tommy Kahlin back in the bullpen. A lot of things are coming back, and we're playing really good ball. But the one team that's really, really, really shocked me, and it hates me to say it, hates you to say it, is the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, they won today. They beat your boys. First team to 30 wins, and they're 30-13.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're just playing out of control. I don't know if you saw the game last night. Did you see when your catcher threw the ball at Bryce Harper's head? I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. Did it give them the win? Because mine says they're 29-13.
They won today, so this hasn't updated yet. I'm looking at the same thing, but they did win because it was a 1:00 game. And I don't know what's going on with your Mets because Edwin Diaz came in last night and blew the save. I think that was his 3rd or 4th blown save of the year.
He sucks this year.
Yeah.
Oh, I just refreshed the page and it updated. So yeah, 30-13.
And I do want to point out one thing. I will tell you, my ice cold banquet beer boys have won 5 in a row. So watch out for my Colorado Rockies. Yeah, buddy, watch out for them. I mean, 5 in a row, sir.
Still in the cellar.
So. I'm not worried about that. That's what we get the best banquet beer.
Run differential. Oh boy. I mean, 5 in a row, yeah, momentum. I guess I'll give them that, but you got a lot of ground to make up.
Hey, we're not worried about that. We're not worried about it, man.
Yeah,
go Rockies.
Yeah. The Phillies stood out to me too. I predicted them, going back to our predictions, not to win the division, but to be close because they've got that stacked lineup and it's starting to show itself. I mean, look at their run differential, plus 67. I mean, second best, actually, to the Dodgers, who have also had a pretty good start. It was a little shaky, I think, but they're Ohtani out there is doing Ohtani things. So there's not a whole lot of surprises to me so far. The Rays, we pay a pretty close eye to them, and I thought that they would take a step back this year and miss the postseason. They're playing 500 ball right now, 21-21. There's not a ton of surprise. I'll tell you what, the Mets are surprising me a little bit. I thought they were going to be absolute disaster. They're a few games under 500, and like we just mentioned, Diaz has got to get right. Alonso's got to get right. Brandon Nimmo's having a heck of a year. I mean, that guy's turning into be a pretty clutch player. But
yeah, he's a stud. He's a good player.
Yeah, Brett Beatty's been okay, but the rest of the team, they gotta do something, and it's Diaz. It really is. Like you said, I think he's at least 3 blown saves, and you just can't have that. I mean, that's your job. That really is your job. You don't go in for very long, and you just got to play lights out as a closer. So
yeah, it goes back to NFL. They always say you got one job as being a kicker. One job is being a closer. But the big thing with the Mets, I think what really screwed you guys up is losing Alvarez when he broke his thumb.
Yeah,
and he was having a hell of a year, and you guys were actually playing pretty good. And then he went out, and then you got Nito and Navarez as your 2 catchers now.
Yeah.
So I think that might be a key stand, and we'll see what happens because we talked about this when we did our baseball preview. If the Mets are nowhere to be found, it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Alonso. Because like I said, we've talked about him being an upcoming free agent. We've talked about him if they want to, 1, re-sign him, 2, do what the Yankees did with Chapman a couple years ago and trade him away in hopes they can re-sign him. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting. I mean, we're at May 15th right now, or May 14th right now, seeing what's going on. You got a month and a half. July 31st is the trade deadline. So we'll see what happens, but that's going to be a very big, huge news line to see if they, like I said, if they keep them or if they try to trade them and go from there.
I hope they keep them, but if I said I was optimistic, I'd be lying. I don't have a great feeling about it because I just don't feel like their team is headed in the right direction. I mean, they're 3 games under 500, and if you look at the Mets' history, I mean, this is just playing right into every other season. I mean, we start off a little bumpy, a little upwards, a little bumpy, and then they kind of flatline. Some seasons we've had, an upward trajectory as late as August, but I tell you, as soon as September hits, they fall off a cliff. And a lot of times it's even before that. I mean, that All-Star break in July, it's usually when we start playing our way out of it. So I think they're going to have to make that uncomfortable decision. Steve Cohen has more money than God. So, I mean, just pay the dude. I mean, even if you have to give him, you just give stupid contracts to Scherzer and Verlander. I mean, you're still paying Bobby Bonilla. I don't know whose pocket that's coming out of, but I mean, just pay the man. But we'll see.
Yeah, Lindor is a bad contract too. He's been kind of iffy.
Yeah, just form an orderly line. The Mets just give out money.
So we'll see. I mean, it's it's baseball season. I'm loving it. And
we got
a trek ride.
I was gonna say they're gonna keep us company when the NHL and the NBA wind down, so we'll be talking a lot more baseball, I think, over the summer. But we're about that time. Guess a few final thoughts on the Preakness before we wrap up. Are you throwing some more money on Mystic Dan or what?
So I got a pretty cool website right here, horseracingnation.com.
Yep.
And I got the whole Preakness Stakes. I got the whole 9 field.
Yep.
And you mentioned this last week. Bob Baffert, who was a famous trainer, suspended from Kentucky Derby. He actually has 2 racers in here, Imagination and Muth, M-U-T-H.
Yeah, Muth, yep.
8-5 and 6-1 is what I'm seeing. Also, Wayne Lucas, who also is a name, that's been around a long time. He's got Just Steele, who ran 17th, and he's got Seize the Gray, who last raced in Pat the Day Mike, G2. 15-1. So there's
Mile.
Sorry. My bad. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I'm probably going to ride my boy. I mean, Mystic Dan, you can't really go wrong with that. I may do a little box with 4, 8, and 9 and go from there and see what happens, because those are 3, 4, 8, 9. See what happens.
Yeah, you're kind of
and 5.
Spot on with some of the analysis there. Muth, in my opinion, is probably going to run away with this. He's run 6 races in his lifetime. He's won 4 of them. He's come in second twice. Anytime he's come in second, one of them was to Fierceness, who we know flamed out 2 weeks ago, but that was his second, and then he was second by only a couple lengths, and it was his second, stakes race of his career, really. So I think Muth runs away with this one. I think the rest he'll be ready to run. He's well trained. I think it's his race to lose. If you're gonna get crazy on some bets, you might want to do what they call a key, where you put the 4 on top to win if you think he's convinced to win, and then you put a couple horses behind him to come in second or third or fourth or what have you. But it saves you a little bit if you are pretty convinced that he's
like a 4, 5, 8, 9 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I like the only other one I really like. You have to like Mystic Dan after what he just showed.
You gotta like the name too. You gotta like the name.
Gotta love the name.
He's got some pretty good
speeds. Yep. So he's definitely got a legit shot. He really does. The other ones, I don't Just Steal, Tuscan Gold. They're not. They don't have the best stats, best speed. Seize the Gray is a horse that kind of hurt me over that Derby weekend, because I had a pick 4 going, which is where you got to get the first horse in 4 different races, and they can end up paying a lot depending on the odds. And there was a bomb of a horse that we had, not thanks to me, but a friend of mine. Yep. He was 47-1 odds in like the 6th race. The pick 4, I don't know what it ended up paying, but it must have paid thousands of dollars. And the race after that was with Seize the Gray, and we didn't have him. But I got a nephew, as you know, my brother had a kid, and his name is Grayson, and we wanted to bet him because of the name, but it was done. We didn't have him, and he ended up winning. That was you just named it, the Pat Day Mile. He won. Yeah. So he's got a bit of a chance, an outside shot, but I think it's Muth's race to win. Imagination's been 1 and 2 in his lifetime as well. But he's ran like the Santa Anita Derby, the San Felipe. Those races aren't quite as tough as some of the others. So he's probably not run against as good a competition as some of these other horses. The one thing I will say about this race is there's obviously a lot less horses, half the field, 9 compared to 20.
Yep.
And I usually like horses on the outside if they have enough speed, because they can go wire to wire. They can just sit on the outside. They're not going to get bumped. They can try to make their way to the rail. And if they got that speed, they can almost never look back. So the 9 has a shot. I just don't know if he has those numbers. The one horse I would look out for besides Muth is the number 3, like you said, is Catching Freedom, because he wasn't that far behind Mystic Dan and Sierra Leone, some really good horses. He's got some pretty good numbers. I mean, his showing in the Louisiana Derby was impressive. So I think the 4 probably wins it, and he probably wins it with ease. But keep an eye on the 3. Keep an eye on the 5. There's a couple long shots potentially.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I got 8-5, so that's a weird odd. Like, why not call it 3-1? Or I mean, I don't know. It's weird.
Just the morning line odds. It's going to change a lot. They're not going to stay that way, but that is a good indicator. Muth could very well go off even worse than that. Like 8-5 is awful. It's almost 2-1. Not really. It's like $1.50 per dollar. But he could very well go off. We could see 1-5. I mean, the worst it can be generally is 1-9 usually, and that's awful. I mean, you're not making anything on that. You're at that point you're praying for an upset, because if there's a horse that's favored like that, the rest of the horses are going to be bombs. You're going to get those 50-1 shots. It'll be interesting to see if people really believe in him, because look at Fierceness. I was all over him 2 weeks ago. I thought he was going to come in as the favorite. He was bet down, and he wasn't in the conversation. So horse racing is hard, man. I will say, it gets a little bit easier when it's a shorter field. There's less variables and less to handicap, but it's still tough. It can be unpredictable. But if I had to put money on it, I'm going Muth.
Yep, and I'll have to give you props on that, because you actually mentioned him last show. And you said, watch out for him, because
I mentioned him, but I didn't do it enough in my own head to.
No, well, he didn't race at the Kentucky Derby. He didn't work at the Kentucky Derby because you said because of Bob Baffert. So,
and that's what I mean. I should have keyed in on your boy Mystic Dan, who was second to him, and it escaped me. So I missed out on some money there. If I would have listened to our show and paid more attention.
Yeah, but that was solid. I think it's gonna be fun. I mean, we'll be going up again and putting some bets in. It's always a fun little spectacle. It's always makes it fun, because with the Kentucky Derby, there was a lot of people at the Best Bet here in St. Augustine.
Yeah,
should be a lot of people here at the Best Bet again, because a lot of people love this triple crown. So I'm looking forward to it. And Mystic Dan wins again. Oof, be ready for a good show in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
going for the Triple Crown.
Have to put a lot of money on him then.
Oh man, I may drink out of a Triple Crown drink if that's the case.
I like it.
Triple Crown glass. Come on. So, another lovely show, my man.
It was a good one, man. We covered a lot of good topics, a lot of good conversation. We'll be running it back. We appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate Drop Hat, and make sure you stay tuned to us next week for more good talks.
Another killer hat, and go Oilers.
Yep. Peace.
Peace.